Hi everyone, I'm Christine and this is Unilife with Canvas Nottingham. So this week I am so excited because I am getting to introduce you to, or maybe tell you more about, one of our new Canvas teammates. Her name is Alicia. Hi, Alicia.
Hi, Christine.
And this is your first podcast experience, right?
We did the Ask Us Anything, but this is my
That's true.
first prime time.
Yes. So welcome to Primetime Podcast Experience.
Thanks.
I'm really excited for people to get to know you a bit more today. I know with life being the way that it is right now, it's really hard to get to know people, new people especially. And so I'm hoping that our conversation today will just give people a little bit of insight into your story and your life and get to know you a bit more.
Yeah, I'm super pumped.
Awesome. So let's start with just that. Tell us a bit of your story. Who are you? Where are you from? Take us back to the very beginning.
Well, my name's Alicia. I'm from Lincoln, Nebraska, and I think it's one of the best places ever. Not to visit. We're literally 50 out of 50 on the states when you look at tourism, but to live, pretty great place. I was not actually born in Lincoln. I was born in Omaha, and we moved to Lincoln when I was about a year and a half old. My parents divorced when I was pretty little, which was part of what was the move to Lincoln from Omaha. And at the time, I had 3 older siblings that are triplets, which is fun. People will ask me, "Oh, how many older siblings do you have?" I'm like, 3. And they're like, "Oh, how old are they?" And I only ever give them one age. Because in my brain, like they're all the same age. And I forget that that's not normal. And it just makes me sound super rude, and it is not intentional.
Yeah, I could see that being confusing for sure.
Yeah. Sometimes they'll give me a weird look and I'm like, I answered your question. And then I remember, like, oh yeah, it's probably helpful for you to know that all 3 of them were born at the same time.
Yep, definitely.
Yeah. So like I said, when I was little, my parents got divorced. My mom moved to Lincoln. She went to uni. So she had waited for a while to go to uni until after she had kids. And so she went to the University of Nebraska, which is where I actually later went to uni.
That's awesome. So before you move on telling your story, give us a little picture of Nebraska, because I feel like, the states often get lumped into this one large category, but obviously each one is very different. You're giving it some rave reviews about it being a great state to live. So what is it like? Why is it a great place to live?
Yeah, so Nebraska is geographically about the size of Great Britain with less than 2 million people in it. So it's very agricultural. There are 2 cities, exactly 2 cities, Lincoln and Omaha, and those are the 2 places that I've ever lived. It's very flat. Once you get out of the city, you can drive for about 30 minutes before you see another town. And it is the most incredible. They have just like the best sunsets that you will ever see in your life. Like just flat, open skies. It's generally pretty sunny. There isn't a ton of cloud cover. Oh, they're so pretty. Yeah, that's Nebraska. People are generally quite kind, slow pace of life. It's a fun place to grow up.
I mean, I'm a sucker for a good sunset, so you're pulling on my heartstrings right now.
They're so good. You can come visit anytime.
Yes, I would like that very much.
Mm-hmm.
All right, carry on. What happens next in life of Alicia?
Ooh, so in America you have kindergarten and then you have grades 1 through 12. So I went to kindergarten at a public school, and then my mom had graduated from uni at that point and gotten a job, and she decided that she wanted me to go to the private Catholic school that she had gone to while she was in school. And so she placed me into that school. She just kind of did it. My dad was a part of the conversation, but I only saw him like 4 days a month. So he was a part of my life for sure, but he wasn't an integral part of those type of decision-making processes. So yeah, I went to Catholic school. I did not like it really at all. It was just a kind of a harsh, that particular setting was just pretty harsh for me. Especially coming from like a home where I only had one parent and I didn't have like your stereotypical, and I had 3 older siblings that were actually from a previous marriage of my mom's. And so it was not the vibe that they were looking for. I never quite settled in there. And also at the time I was going to a Catholic school, but my mom was more like in like a Protestant Christian nominal church. So we would go on Christmas and Easter and maybe every once in a while to a church that was not the church that I went to at like mass Monday through Friday. So that was really interesting. And then when I was in the 5th grade, I moved back into public schools, which I very much enjoyed.
Gotcha. So you were going to a Catholic school, and what did faith look like in those early days of your life? What role did it play?
I don't really think that it played a big significant role at all. Like I would tell you that I was Christian, and obviously like I went to Catholic school and I was baptized Catholic as a baby, but I wouldn't say that it really informed any part of my life other than when people would ask me what religion I am. Like I would say I was either Christian or Catholic. Just so it was like it was there. I knew who Jesus was. I had to take a religion class every day, but it wasn't something that was a part, like an active part of my life while I was younger.
Why do you think it was that you considered yourself or would have called yourself a Christian at such a young age, even though faith didn't play like a very big role in your life at that time?
I think for me, it was like that's what my parents would tell me. Also, like I'm Midwestern. Everybody's Christian in the Midwest is what they'll tell you. So I think it was very much just like that's what my parents said. That's what my society said. So that's what it was. And you know, when you're little, I just didn't think about it.
Yeah, I get that. So carry us through to the rest of your school age years. What did those look like?
Yeah. So in America, it's broken up into primary school, which is in my town, years 1 through 5, middle school, which is years 6 through 8, and then high school, which is years 9 through 12. So I entered into middle school. I loved middle school. Most people don't. You're like ages, I think I was 11 when I started and 13 when I left. And those are just kind of nasty ages. But also at this point, I had gained 2 more siblings. So my dad had gotten remarried. I had my little brother. I didn't have him. My stepmom had my little brother when I was 8 in the 3rd grade. And then my little sister was born when I was in the 6th grade. But loved middle school. I had this group of friends. We thought we were musically inclined. We're not. Like now as an adult, I can be like, yeah, I can kind of sing a little bit, but like I have limited musical ability. But we used to just like hang out, go to the mall, go to the movies. And then this is like prime Cheetah Girls age. And so we were going to be like the Cheetah Girls, and we were going to start our own music group. And that is what we were going to do with our lives. And we were going to be so famous. Obviously that didn't happen, but it was the dream.
Spoiler alert.
Right? If you're listening to this, I'm not famous. I am, yeah, no.
So that is really surprising that you enjoyed middle school. I think it is one of the most awkward phases of a human's life. And it normally is not super enjoyable for a lot of people, I think. At least that's the reputation it has. So I'm glad that you are one of the few that really enjoyed it. That's awesome.
Yeah. I developed a pretty cool crew of friends. They all came from homes in which their parents also weren't together. And so it wasn't strange. Like I'd go to Omaha every other weekend and, oh, I can't hang out this weekend because I'm going to be with my dad's. But what about next weekend? Like we just got to hang out. There wasn't any awkwardness in that because they were also experiencing the same thing. And, I could easily go to their dad's house or their mom's house and understand that dynamics are just going to be different because that was the life I was also living. So, unfortunately, those same girls did not go with me to high school. We all split up all throughout the city. So there's 7 high schools in Lincoln, and the 4 of us went to 3 different high schools. So we kind of disbanded. And this was right before phones like really were the equate, like mobile phones. Obviously, we still had like the phone in the kitchen, and it was just harder to keep in contact. So our friend group kind of disintegrated as we went into high school.
That's when the Cheetah Girls went their separate ways, huh?
That was right after the 3rd movie, and they were done. And so we were like, time to pack up.
I love what you shared about in regards to your friend group in middle school, because I think it just goes to show how having a good group of friends or a good community who are like in a similar phase of life or who just know you where you find belonging can really transform, I think, a period of life. And that's really cool.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. It was cool to have that crew in such like a what would normally be considered an awkward catty time of life.
Definitely. So what happens in high school? The Cheetah Girls have just broken up,
Yeah,
and did you join a new band?
actually I quit band. I was in band in middle school. Still stayed in choir, but was not in band. In high school I kind of jumped around friend groups. Like my high school was incredibly diverse. Lincoln is actually a secondary refugee relocation center. And so in my high school, there were kids from all over the world. So there was all of these, just so many different pockets of people to hang out with. And I never quite landed on like one specific crew. I was generally liked by most people. Like I just generally get along with just about everybody. That was true in high school. But I never really found my belonging, my people. I tell people I'd redo middle school in a heartbeat, but I don't really ever want to redo high school.
Yeah, I get that. I think not finding your place for such an extended period of time, especially in school, I feel like it's such a social atmosphere being with these same people day in and day out. And so I think it is really hard when you're unable to kind of find where you fit in.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely had its difficult moments. Um, but my last year in high school, so that would be like year 12, my mom had gotten involved with a local church that we had kind of been going to. I had gone to their like youth group, which was like church, but for middle and high schoolers. And I just wasn't really excited about it. Like it was not really where I wanted to be. The kids were not the kindest. And they were those kids that are like, they'd be nice to me at youth group and then would not give me the time of day at school. I'm like, okay, bye. I don't need you. But my mom had joined this Bible study with these grandmas. They were probably in their 60s and 70s. And they started doing this like book on fear. I was like, well, I've got fear and I like grandmas, so I'll go to that. And so I did. I would sit in this room with 12 people that included me, a 29-year age gap, then my mother, and then another 20-year age gap with the next youngest person. And I loved those ladies. I'm still in contact with some of them. Unfortunately, some of them have passed on, but they were just so kind and loving. And I found belonging there with grandmas. And
I love that.
yeah. And so one day, one of these women, she grabbed my hand and she goes, Alicia, I need you to meet these two people. They work at basically like a Canvas like thing at the university you're going to be going to. And I want you to get connected with them. And I was like, internally, my brain was like, I don't want to get connected with them. No, thank you. Externally, I was born and raised in the Midwest, and you do not say no to 65-year-old woman, especially at church in front of your mother. So I was like, yes, ma'am, let's go.
Definitely. So before you carry on, what were like your reservations about meeting these people? Was it meeting new people? Was it that they were Christian? Like, what was it that you were hesitant about?
Yeah, I think for me, it was that they were Christians my age. Like that had never gone well for me in the past. And so for me, it was like, it wasn't so much the meeting new people, it was my past experience with Christians my age has been that like they can be, for lack of a better term, a little two-faced. And I don't really want to be a part of that community. And the only reason why I'm going to go to this is because Miss Cindy just told me that I need to go to this.
Fair. So it was more about the group of people in this like Canvas like community, less about the people who were leading it.
Yeah.
Got it.
But I knew by meeting the people that were leading it, I was going to eventually have to meet the people that were in it.
And you would still consider yourself a Christian at this point in your life?
Oh, yeah.
Definitely got that. Okay. So what happens next?
So I meet these people. Their names are Derek and Jackie. They're fantastic. And Jackie adds me on Facebook and she's like, you should come to the stuff that we're doing in the summer. Cause I went to uni in my hometown. And so it was pretty like logistically, it was quite easy for me to just transition into hanging out with them. And I was like, oh, I really don't want to do this. And she just kept inviting me and kept inviting me. And Miss Cindy just kept asking, oh, have you gone and hung out with this Canvas Light community? And I would have to tell her no, because you can't lie in church. And so eventually I was like, oh, I got to do this. And my mom looked at me because my mom is also in this group. And she's like, yeah, you got to do that. So I decided one night that I was going to go. And it was at Derek and Jackie's home at the time. And I showed up about 5 minutes early, to be polite, not realizing that this particular community ran 30 minutes late. So Derek and Jackie were not ready for me. I had to sit awkwardly in their living room for 20 minutes on the couch, just kind of hanging out while they were getting ready because I didn't know.
Oh my gosh, that just pains me in thinking about having that awkward experience, because I think I've definitely been there before, where you show up and you're like, oh gosh, I wish that I had not done this.
Right, because I didn't want to be there in the first place. So now not only did I not want to be there in the first place, now I'm like kind of awkwardly there. And Derek and Jackie are the kindest people, and they were trying to make it better, but it was uncomfortable. And I was expecting for this to go an hour. I was like, okay. I had psyched myself up literally in the car park outside their flat, psyching myself up. I'm going to go in 5 minutes beforehand. It's going to be done in an hour. I was going to get myself some Chick-fil-A lemonade on the way home. And then it was going to be done. It went for 3 hours, Christine.
Oh gosh.
It started 30 minutes late and then went for 3 hours. And but the 3 hours were actually pretty great. I went in, I was pretty hesitant, to say the least. So I don't want to be there. I've just sat for 30 minutes waiting for these people that I'm not quite sure that I want to meet to show up, because I don't want to be disrespectful to Miss Cindy. And they finally start showing up and they're so kind. Like, they're friendly. They're easy to talk to. They're asking me questions and genuinely care about my response. And so it was a Bible study. And so they started reading the Bible, and I hadn't truly dug into reading the Bible since religion class in the 4th grade. So I was like, okay, cool. And I didn't really say much. So for 3 hours, I was pretty silent, which is really not my vibe. It wasn't my vibe when I was 18. It's not my vibe now. But I was quiet, except for I remember specifically I only said one thing the whole time that I was there. And when I said it, everybody looked up and looked at me and actually cared and like respected me in that way. And that had never happened ever in any sort of faith community amongst my peers. And I remember just being like so impacted by that particular moment. Like as I'm saying it, like I have the picture of that in my brain right now.
Yeah. How did that make you feel, that moment?
I think it made me feel respected, valued. In a way, it was like a small show of love of like, no, we just met you, but we genuinely care. Not just what you have to say, but just like, I'm going to look up and look at you while you're speaking. Uh, and it was just like a great moment that I had never experienced. And I can't remember what they said, but there's this saying, and I don't know who it's by, but it's like people might not remember what you say, but they will remember how you made them feel. And that is definitely true in this moment, that I remember how that community made me feel. And them making me feel that way is what made me come back the next week. I wasn't quite ready to show up 30 minutes late because I just couldn't bring myself to that level of ridiculousness. But I did show up 15 minutes late the next time.
So where do you go from there? You have come to this Canvas like Bible study 2 weeks in a row, and this is the summer before your uni experience. So like what does uni life look like for you?
Yeah. So I continued to like go to their like activities and events and stuff for about 6 weeks before that was before I started uni. And so I started uni. Uni starts in the middle of August, which is also when my birthday is. So that was always like, oh, I'm excited for my birthday. Also, school's going to start again. Um, and I just like fell right into place with this community. So all the students that had not been there during the summer came back for the school year, and it looked different in the school year than in the summer. But I think like they just kind of kept, everybody was still kind. Everybody was welcoming. And they would talk about Jesus in a way that I had never heard before. It wasn't this sterile environment of a religion class taught by a nun who it is her job to try to make 8-year-olds learn these different theological viewpoints. It was like these people were talking about this Jesus who is loving and kind, that had this impact on their life and impacted the way that they live. And I was like, what is that? Um, so I kept meeting with Derek and Jackie, and they just we kept doing almost like a biblical practices type thing that we do at Canvas, but it was just like one-on-one. So like me with the two of them would do this like biblical practices thing, where they would teach me about, I would say they teach me about Jesus. Like I had done religion class, but they would teach me about what it looks like to have a relationship with Jesus and how Jesus impacts life. And we would study like different letters in the New Testament. And I never had a particular moment where I was like, yeah, this is my aha moment where I'm going to become a Christian. But I think one day throughout that process of like learning and discovering, I realized that I believed what they believed, not just because that's what my parents told me or my community told me, but because that's what I believed. And I had like seen God and experienced God for myself, for really like the first time ever.
So at that point in time, what would it have like? How was it different if you were to say, yeah, hi, I'm Alicia and I'm a Christian? What did that mean at that point in time versus what it meant when you were in primary school?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I would say like externally, my external behaviors didn't change a whole bunch. Like I had always kind of been a goody two shoes. I'd watched my sister get in so much trouble while she was in high school that I was terrified of what my mother would do to me if I ever tried to do the nonsense that she tried to do. So I kind of stayed in my lane. But I would say there was a big internal difference in me, like knowing that I was loved, worthy, valued just for being who I was, that it didn't really matter that my parents weren't together or that I didn't have a traditional upbringing, like being a part of a community that truly loved and accepted me just because I'm me. Like that definitely changed my internal dialogue significantly.
Mm-hmm. So originally being Christian was like a cultural or family kind of identity piece.
Yeah.
Whereas then in uni, it was more of what like did you grasp the relational side of faith more or
Yeah, I think it was like something that just like rooted itself inside of my inner being. Because before it was very much like in growing up, it was like, oh yeah, I'm Christian because, I was baptized Catholic as a baby and I live in Nebraska. Whereas like when I went to uni and kind of went through that biblical practices type thing, it was like, no, I'm Christian because I believe that there truly is a God. And I believe that he truly works. And I believe that Jesus is real. And I believe that what the Bible says is real.
and that started to like transform the way you like saw yourself and stuff you were saying, like being worthy and valued and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
So at what point in time did this take place? You becoming, or I want to say becoming a Christian, but at that point in time, you already considered yourself a Christian. So after biblical practices.
Yeah, so that was probably my first term. So I would say towards the end of my first term is when like the switch was made for me from being Christian because that's where I grew up to being Christian because that's who I am.
Gotcha. So it was more of like a choice at that point, a personal decision.
Yeah. Like beforehand, it was a part of my identity, but it's pretty loose.
Yeah.
Whereas like after my first semester at uni, that's when it became like a core part of who I am.
Mm-hmm. What did you find particularly challenging throughout your experience of uni?
So my uni experience was pretty unique. My dad got diagnosed with cancer at the end of my first year at uni and then passed away halfway through my third year at uni. And so, to be honest, a lot of my time and energy in that particular time span was just like spent. I was also working. So I was working 20 hours a week, going to class, trying to be a part of this community and trying to take care of my dad. And that was like my life. It took up like that is just a lot to handle. And then after my dad passed away, I had heard about this organization of Canvas-like communities my first year at uni. And basically this guy came and spoke and he was like, oh, we have this awesome opportunity. You can come and be an exchange student and study abroad and get like credit towards your degree. And I was like, that's perfect. I'm studying international business and economics with a minor in Spanish. You have a location in Spain. It was a part of my requirement to graduate that I had to study abroad somewhere. So it's like, perfect. I'm going to go to Spain. So we were chatting about that my first year at uni. My dad got sick. Those plans got put on hold. And so my fourth year at uni, also pause. Uni in America is either 4 or 5 years. That's very normal. I was not like delayed or ridiculous. Like that's just normal. That's just how life works in America. I went for 5 years because I double majored and minored. So my fourth year of 5 years at uni, I actually decided to go be a part of one of these communities in Spain. It's called In Vivo. It's in Salamanca. Salamanca is beautiful and very Spanish. And In Vivo is just this really amazing community where like everyone is welcome and you can come hang out. And they call themselves a student association with Christian character. And I've always really liked that description of In Vivo because that is what I experienced there.
Nice. So you went to Spain. I imagine you went back and graduated from uni afterwards.
I did. In Nebraska, you actually get handed your diploma as you walk across the stage. So definitely had it.
It's important to note.
Yep. Looked at it and everything. They're very strict about where you sit at my uni graduation, probably because they hand out 3,000 actual diplomas.
Wow. So did you go from living in Nebraska, traveling to Spain to study abroad, graduating from a uni in Nebraska, to living in Nottingham today?
Yeah. So while I was at In Vivo, they were talking about planting another campus in Southern Ireland. And it was originally going to be a whole bunch of people from like my uni system. So much like Knott's has unis in Nottingham, Malaysia, and China. Nebraska has unis in 3 different cities, but in Nebraska. And so people from that system were going to go and start this new community. And so I heard about that while I was in Spain and really just felt like that was right. Like I like my degrees. I don't love them. I wasn't overly excited about them, but by the time I figured that out, I was already 3.5 years in. So I might as well just finish it.
Mm-hmm.
And so the idea of working and like being a part of creating this type of community for students was incredibly appealing to me. And I was like, I think I want to spend at least a time of my life doing that. So I obviously don't live in Ireland. Through a whole bunch of different exchanges, that actually became more apparent that it would be a better fit for me to come here to Nottingham to be a part of Canvas, which has been a gift. I love it so much. Yeah, and so it was kind of a slow transition for me. I graduated from uni in 2016 after being at uni for 5 years. So it's kind of been a slow moving train to get here to Nottingham, but I kind of almost wouldn't have it any other way because then it wouldn't be the place that I'm in right now.
It's very true. What has been hard about moving to Nottingham?
An international move in a pandemic, would not recommend.
You heard it here first, folks.
Yeah. COVID things have been hard. America does COVID quite differently than the UK does COVID. And so transitioning mindset from the way that the US does things to the way that England does things has been a little bit of a struggle. And moving into a country where you can't really see anybody has definitely created its challenges. But every person that I see on this planet is either current friend or potential friend. So we're making it work.
Nice. What has been your favorite thing about working at Canvas so far?
Hanging out with students, like just getting to be a part and like being invited into like y'all's lives has been really awesome to get to know like the quirks and what motivates people and how they think and what your favorite board games are. My board game experience was limited to the Game of Life and Ticket to Ride. So my horizons have been opened. And it's just been really cool just to get to know what makes the Canvas community the Canvas community.
You mentioned getting to know people's quirks. What are some of your quirks or unique things about you?
Oh, I get very excited about things. Just like visually excited. Like I have no problem like throwing my arms up in the air. I generally don't care what other people think about me and when I'm in that state, which does not help. It just adds to the ridiculousness. I like to eat my chili with cinnamon rolls. That has been a contention point amongst the Canvas staff. That's a very Nebraska thing. None of the other staff are from Nebraska, and so naturally they think it's disgusting. It is not. I highly recommend you try it. Let me know. I'll give you the tips and tricks on how to do it well.
If you do, I want to hear about it for sure. What
It's great food.
What about pet peeves? What's one of your pet peeves?
Ooh. I'm generally not over fussed about a whole bunch of things. A lot of my pet peeves are like when someone takes away another person's voice, like I get really annoyed at that. Or um when people are just generally disrespectful and mean to other humans. But I don't know if you could call that a pet peeve, is more of just like a general annoyance. Um I would one of the things that I've appreciated about England is that there's a lack of queue jumping, because queue jumping is definitely like, why? Wait your turn. Everybody's got a turn. You ain't special. Wait your turn.
Noted. Do not cut in line when you are around Alicia.
Yes.
So obviously you have moved to Nottingham in a very strange time and hoping that things start to open up in the future. What's something that you're really looking forward to doing in England once
Everything.
life? Something I've learned about Alicia since she moved here is that sometimes she likes to have a lot of options, like pick a lot of answers for a question. And so this is a perfect example of that. But I'm gonna pigeonhole you, which I feel like could be one of your pet peeves. And I'm gonna encourage you to think of one thing that you're really looking forward to doing.
So England is an island, and I've been trying to get to the beach for a year. And so I'm really excited to get to the beach. I don't care what kind of beach, preferably a sandy one, maybe some warm water. I don't really know if that's possible. Um, but yeah, I literally will go to some random middle of nowhere and just look at the ocean. Um, so I'm excited to go to the beach. I'm also just excited to experience life in Nottingham. Like what is it? What is it like to have all the restaurants and shops open, and
Mm-hmm.
people on out in Old Market Square and the Christmas market and bonfire night and the theater and all of that fun stuff.
Definitely. Well, this has been so fun, and I definitely have gotten to know you a bit better through this conversation, and I hope everyone else has as well. The way that we typically wrap up our podcast episodes is by asking a few rapid fire questions. So, are you ready, Alicia?
Yes.
All right. Number one, complete this sentence. Community is.
I think for me, a community is a place or a feeling, maybe not even a place, a feeling where you just feel like you belong, and you also feel like you can help other people belong.
Yeah. What is your favorite takeaway?
Ooh, so it used to be German doner kebab. Um, but I think I might be German doner kebabbed out. So, there's this place called Nosh in Beeston. It's a Chinese place. It's fantastic. I think that might be my new fave.
I second that. They've been closed over lockdown. It's been so sad.
It's been the worst.
Soon. What is something you've binged recently and enjoyed?
Literally yesterday, I watched 4 episodes of something called Firefly Lane. It's on Netflix. It's with Katherine Heigl and some other people. And it's intriguing and it's fun. And I watched 4 episodes in a day. So that is definitely my most current binge.
Yep, I've watched it as well. And after watching it, I found out it's based on a book. So there you go.
Book club.
Whoop. What is something that you are grateful for at the moment?
I'm grateful for community. Community both in my physical location and community that I only get to talk to over technology.
Yeah.
I'm also grateful for the warmer weather, which is 2, but
we'll let it slide this time.
thanks.
All right, last one. It's the would you rather. Would you rather, Alicia, have 1 extra finger or 1 extra toe?
Finger. I feel like a toe would just get in the way, and a finger could be very useful.
Yeah, I totally agree.
I think that's the fastest would you rather question I have ever answered.
Well, glad I gave you such an easy one then.
Thanks.
All right. Well, thanks so much for tuning in to this week's episode of Unilife with Canvas Nottingham. I hope you enjoyed getting to know Alicia a bit more. And we would love for you to join us next week on Monday for the podcast discussion. If you have any questions, you can ask Alicia then and share your thoughts about this week's episode. You also can email us at unilife@canvashouse.org. Follow us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook, where we post all of our upcoming events and information. And that's at Canvas Nottingham. Hope you guys have a great week, and we'll see you back here next Wednesday. Bye.
Bye.